Welcome everybody to another episode of Heighten Your Sixth Sense with Shaun Green. I got Jeevan Matharu here from London, and he's gonna share about his journey and his life and what he got going on currently. But just to get a background on this show, we like to focus on elevating, aligning the mind, body, spirit through teachable actionable strategies, fundamental principles, and relentless focus on empowering every beautiful soul to harness their highest potential. I will cultivate awareness, alignment, peace with inspiring and elevated conversation with a new approach to self-discovery and step toward mastery. So Jeevan, he's an author, transformational coach. He focuses on self-improvement, elevating people's personal and private careers, education, life coaching, philosophy. He's author of 3 books. One is on the self-help space. Another is a guided journal. Another one is dealing with famous quotes, breaking down those key philosophical quotes. One of his philosophical ideas is to ensure we maximize our potential by mastering our minds. We also need to ask ourselves the right questions. So, Jeevan, when you say that, what does that mean to you, and how can you explain that to the audience about asking the right questions?
Yes, if you're thinking about it this way, and I actually made a video about this earlier today for my podcast, YouTube channel. I could say, and I've got a podcast and you've got a podcast, Shaun, so it's probably quite relevant to you as well. I could say, I want my podcast to grow. That could be my statement. And actually, that's how most people tend to think. I want my podcast to grow and I want 1,000 followers, 2,000 followers. Although on the face of it, that seems like a really good way to think, doesn't it? You think, actually, yeah, this guy's got goals. This guy's got ambition. This guy wants the podcast he started, which is great. Innovate to the next level. But actually, those statements aren't enough to achieve the goals that the person has set, if that makes sense. And I'll give you an example. To generate growth in the podcast, you have to ask certain questions that will give you a chance to think about how to achieve those. As an example, what is my key demographic for my podcast? What is my actual output going to be as a podcast? The quality of the content that I'm putting out. What is the quantity of the information that I'm putting out? Am I putting out enough information? Am I spending enough time on reaching out to people to join the podcast? What is the sound quality like on my podcast? Is that sufficient? Have I looked at any other competitors in a similar space and see how they run things? Are my podcasts going to be better if I do them individually or if I get on guests to the podcast? You see, those questions start to give you things to think about. Is my podcast delivering enough quality or value to those listening? If you ask that question, you start to think of answers. Maybe this particular episode wasn't quite right. It didn't deliver the right level of information that I needed to generate a good reference point from my viewers.
Mm-hmm.
How can I improve that? The secondary questions come from that. How can I improve that? Okay, I need to improve by, speaking better. How can I speak better? What makes someone good at speaking? Without asking those questions, you will never think in that particular way. If your goal is, as I said at the start, I want to get more views, I want to monetize, you're never going to think about those little intricacies that are going to make that successful. We need to ask those questions within our own life as well. I've got the book on my right hand side here that I've written about questions. Where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years' time? Is one of the questions. Now, if you don't know where you want to be in 5 years' time, how can you ever take the action steps? You can't. This is the real crux of it as well. Sometimes your goals are wrong. And in 2 years' time, you'll realise that the initial goal that you set about where you want to be in 5 years' time was wrong. But it doesn't take away the fact that you needed to set a goal in the first place. You realise that. And this is why questions are so important. They open up so much in terms of your inner thoughts and inner ideas. Socrates, one of the major philosophers in history, never wrote anything himself. Plato, his student, wrote things on his behalf.
Of course.
The timeline of philosophy is based on pre-Socratic and post-Socratic, which means that he's a very important person to philosophy.
Sure.
He used to teach people via the Socratic method, which means that instead of me telling you, Shaun, you need to advertise, improve content, get more guests, increase the reach, get an Instagram channel. There's no point in me telling you that. I need to ask, what do you think makes a good podcast? And you start answering the question yourself.
Yeah, I've seen it years ago. It's been a while though. That's a good movie.
Yeah, movie. And what it shows is that an idea can only come from the individual. You'll see this with kids. You've got a child yourself, Shaun. That you could tell them going into weights and gym, it's not going to make the change. They have to realise that themselves. And the way that you do that is through questioning.
Yep.
That's very important.
The question, that question are the driving force, because without asking the question in general, any question, and then, but also asking the right question, it's going to allow not only yourself, but the individual to think further. I think a lot of people are guilty of the fact that they don't think. They just floating along in habits, habitual action, stuff they always been doing, same routine. There's not much thought to it. It's like they just autopilot, just drift along. And
I think it was Newton that discovered gravity. This the question. What happens, or why did this apple drop to the floor? That question allowed him to find gravity at 9.81 Newton meters per second. Without that question, he would have just said, oh, that apple dropped on me. It's the question versus statement that's really important here. Because that question allows you to try and think of an answer. Read exams ask you questions. They don't say, tell me everything you know about science. You wouldn't be able to answer it because there's too much information. It's like when someone asks me, oh, to tell me what you know about philosophy.
Yeah.
I can't actually answer that. It's a statement, it's too broad. If someone asks me, oh, what do you think about Stoicism? That's a very specific question. I can then say, okay, I think Stoicism's great for reasons X, Y, and Z based on ethics. It makes you understand that you have to control your own mind. You can't control outside events per se, but you can control how you deal with them. Between the statement and the question.
A question makes it go further.
And that's why I wrote the second book. The question a day. Every day you get asked a question. You have to write the answer into that book, pen to pen. Then I give a summary about things that you should think about with regards to the question. The reason why is because if I'd have given you the statement at the start, it would change your answer. We are very, as humans, susceptible to external distraction. And if you answer the question from the heart first, and then with a little bit of guidance, think about, actually, did you think about this? Did you think about that? Could we answer the question in a much better format? And that's for the book. I've got the book here. Some of the questions, I'll just run through a few of them. Am I employing a healthy attitude toward life? Am I taking anything for granted? Am I using my time wisely? Am I living my life to its full potential? If I understand that failure precedes success over the long term, why am I so scared to fail? Everyone knows that failure precedes success, yet they're so scared to fail. If I could hypnotise myself, what would I want to change? Now, actually, that question itself has got a real underlying importance, because actually, if you said, if I could hypnotise myself, I would make myself more intelligent. I would learn more about sales. But you don't need to hypnotise yourself to do that. Even though there are ways to hypnotise yourself, but that's a completely separate conversation.
Never.
Questions are there to make you think about what you actually want. Another question.
That was a great question.
What positive changes have I made in my life recently? Now, and this is the example I used on the video and the podcast earlier. Imagine you got up 1 minute earlier today from let's say you get up normally at 8 o'clock. But you get up at 7:59. It's still progress, isn't it? It's progress. But how do you measure progress? Is 1 minute earlier getting up any more beneficial to you as an individual versus getting up an hour earlier? First, you need to measure what it is that you've improved on. And two, have you actually improved in anything? If you changed anything in your life, what is it? And what's the impact of that going to be longer term? This is why questions are great, because they provoke thoughts from an individual in order that they will grow as a person. But with Google, one person will look at funny TikToks, pornography, and ask questions. They'll type into Google, how do I become a billionaire? Now, for most people, that question will not make them a billionaire.
No.
However, it will show them ways to do it. I need to be a business owner. I need to design a product or a service. I need to get it either to as many people as possible at a low cost, or to very few people at high cost, high ticket value. And these are the questions that will say, how do I then create a product that's high value or high ticket and sell it to low numbers of people? Or how do I get a low cost product to everyone? That's why I'm a big fan of questions. I think that's a massive thing, knowing what areas to improve on, looking at quotes, wisdom throughout the ages that you can apply to your own life. These things are what's going to make you successful as an individual. And again, that's a question. What's success to you? Is it the Gandalfarian lifestyle, or is it having a loving family and wife and having free time to do what you want? And once you define that, can you design the life around that? Not if you want to have a Gandalfarian lifestyle, gamble, fuck bitches. Don't. People just want a nice woman, have some kids that respect them, and they want that they enjoy. When you learn what it is that defines success for you, you can design that. And this is why questions are key.
Success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
That's it. It's a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. The Stranger's Secret said that, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you got to figure out what does that success mean to you, and what is worthy enough for you to progressively work towards that goal or idea.
Let's break down that quote, because it screams two things: progressive realization, and actually 4 words, and the worthy ideal. Progressive realization, worthy ideal. So worthy ideal is very easy. Most people have an ideal they want to work towards. I want to become a millionaire. That's very easy. Everyone has that within them somewhere. Maybe it's deep down, but they have it somewhere. The progressive realization is the key. How can I progressively work towards this? Now, that may not always be in the shape of success initially. It will be in the shape of failure. This world champion boxer has probably been hit in the face more times than either of us. They're better than we are. If you look at any belt system, martial arts, judo, jiu-jitsu, karate, whatever, you get to a point at the lower belts and you're too good for that belt. You move up to the next level, get battered, overcome it, and you again progress to the next level. And then you finally black belt and you realise how shit you are. And then you will start winning at that level. And that is a very good metaphor for life in general. Like martial arts, it's a metaphor. And this is what you need to realise. Are you a big fish in a small pond? Or are you a small fish in a big pond? And actually, it's both. You become a big small pond, and then you move to the big pond and you realise you're a small fish now.
And be able to keep.
And then you get moved to a fucking another pond and another pond and another pond. And that is life in a nutshell. It's whether or not you're willing to move ponds, and whether or not you actually want to get to the final pond. Most people want to stay in the pond as the big fish, but then we're in a shitty little pond. Why do you want to be in a shitty little pond? Because Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, even more.
You got to have people to work.
You need to have some level of ambition. If you aim for the stars, you might end up on the clouds. But if you aim for the top of the tree, you're going to stay on the ground, because your goal, your ambitions aren't big enough to to excite you, to make you work hard. And even if you fail, you're failing in a good way, not in a bad way.
You're probably working towards something.
This is, a lot of people say, oh, I just want a nice, easy life. If you have an easy life now, you'll have a hard life later on. Do you want a hard life? A smooth sea never made a strong sailor. Okay, you're in a storm, or whether it's a sailor or a pilot, it doesn't really matter for the purpose of this. Who do you want to fly you? Someone who's been in 15 storms, or someone who's been in none?
Somebody got some salt behind them. Yeah.
But that motherfucker was in 1 storm first, 2 storms, 3 storms. This is what you have to understand. To be the best, you have to be content with being seen foolish and stupid. The best boxer in the world, the best athlete in the world, was at one point shit.
They had to work their way. He worked. They spoke the greatest that existed. Most of them said a long time before they were champions. I'm a world champion. They declared it before it even happened.
Muhammad Ali. The point is, they were willing to go through that pain and not be naive to the fact that failure is success in progress. Failure is success in progress. And that's massive, because success and failure are not inverse.
They're the same.
An entrepreneur will fail at 7 businesses before he succeeds on the 8th. But he's learned so much from those. I'll give you a couple of quotes, because I love quotes, mate. Because they give you so much knowledge. This is from the 3rd book. Probably my favourite quote of all time is to be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. And the raging of the sea falls still around it. If you're like a rock and things keep hitting you and you're not bothered, you're a strong bastard. If you're getting moved off centre by someone in a Datsun, Hyundai, Toyota, who's cut you up in traffic and you're getting all outraged,
they're all crazy.
You can get affected by that. You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. Another Marcus Aurelius quote. There's literally hundreds that really show us what's important. Another one about failure. The more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in combat. Now let's break that down. What that means is that the harder you're willing to work,
when nobody's looking
around, when you come to the big stage, you're not going to look like a bitch.
You will look prepared.
Work in the background is where that's important. That's what I take from it.
Cool.
In training, you sweat more because you're getting your fitness up, you're getting your technique up, you're getting your attributes up. So thing, you're better prepared for it. The problem is people go to war, metaphorically speaking or real, and they're expecting to win, but they've not sweat anything.
Okay.
Power over your mind, not outside events. Realise this and you will find strength. Regardless of what happens, you have a choice with how you deal with it. You don't have to get upset. You don't have to become judgmental. You don't have to blame external events. You can understand that it's happened now. All I can do is the best possible.
Okay.
I can't do anything about it. I've been dealt the hand by myself or elsewhere, and I can now change the outcome. All of these quotes are important. Another one is, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Now, break that down. To clean something, you have to scrub it.
You have to, on the way.
Imagine that rock or gem had feelings. Probably wouldn't be very nice when you clean the dishes. You've got a Brillo pad, you've got a sponge. If that plate had feelings, it wouldn't be very nice, but it comes out clean. The best men, in fact, have been through the most shit. We've all seen that person. They're loaded, and you realise this guy's a pussy. I've got no respect for this man. But as he's inherited it, his income and who he is, character there. But when there's a match and someone is a millionaire, you can see in them the traits, what they've been through, the attributes, their determination. network, how they carry themselves, how they dress. You can respect that and it immediately. But when there's disparity, you realise this guy ain't about it. Women, the men, women can sniff out a pussy straight away. And this is why it's important. Most lottery winners lose all the money afterwards.
They're this, but not perfect.
They can't manage that level of asset because they manage £10. I'm not that kind of person. That's why I used to want to win the lottery when I was younger. And I don't want to anymore. I'd rather become the person that makes that money. I don't want the easy life. Be the man. Do you respect a man who's won the lottery?
Not really, because they didn't work for it.
So why do you want to win the lottery?
Because it's the easy route.
But then you wouldn't respect yourself.
That's probably why people get rid of it. Why they lose it. Some other way or whatever.
And I'm just taking the book to another quote, which is perfect for what we're talking about. Benjamin Franklin says, if a man empties his purse into his head, no man can take it away from him. An investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. So it's not about winning the lottery, it's about investing into knowledge. Because even if you lose all your assets, no one can take away what you've learned, the type of person you are, and what you've become.
That's why most billionaires lose all their money. They get it right back.
Peter Jones is a great example, which I always use. Peter Jones, you've got Shark's Tank, I think, in the US.
Shark Tank, yeah.
So we've got in the UK, Dragon's Den, same thing. One of the companies on there is called Peter Jones. He made something like 250 million. And then he lost it all. And he made 200 million back, or the other way around. And the important part is that although he lost his asset, he didn't lose his business acumen, his determination, his drive, his network, his business know-how, his lessons from bad mistakes. He didn't lose any of that.
It's all there.
It's like Mike Tyson. This is another example I use. Mike Tyson can never go broke, even though he went broke. Never go broke, even though he went broke. The reason why is he's got inherent value. People learn from him in terms of boxing. People want to talk to him about what he's been through. He's got value there. The more important thing is the value that you have. I could have, and I don't, but £1 million in my bank account right now. And Bill Gates could have minus £700,000. By tomorrow, he will have more than me.
Yeah, because of his value.
Not what you have on your balance sheet. The profit and loss is more important. That's what you're going to keep bringing in. People talk about, this is another quote I'm trying to remember offhand. A small leak will sink a ship, like a small expense will sink you. Although that's a great quote and it does run true, it isn't as important as the income that you're generating. Income is more important than anything else. Whatever you've got in your bank to the max, the ability to earn income that's the most important.
Keep bringing it in, but also as you bring it in, you multiplying it or invest it to make it grow.
Absolutely.
Because if you make a lot of money, you're spending it, and then you're going to be breaking. You ain't doing nothing.
And most rich people, and I know this because I used to work as a financial advisor.
You saw your book.
Wealthy people talk about, rich people all own lots of property. They all own lots of gold. They all own stock shares. No. They do this.
Yeah.
They made their money somewhere else first. That's the store of value for them. They come in from businesses, from X, Y, and Z, and they're putting that money into those investments.
MSIs.
Exactly. Their primary source of income has come from something else. And this is a great example. You can say, you make money out of gold and property. Fair enough, you do. Try getting a mortgage. Try buying gold. You need money to make money in those realms. You don't need money to make money as a business and creating value.
You can create value by the parts of the knowledge you gain, and then as you expand that knowledge to reaching a multitude of people, that's how you create your value. And then the money is going to come because you have a value. People want you because of your value. And they will pay you based upon your value.
Yeah. My first book is called Become a Person of Value, because what most people fail in, and I was the same, is they look for a job based on what can I earn as opposed to what value can I bring. They'll go on job websites, 60 to 80,000 job, and then they'll make their CV match, the job, and such a bad way of living life. Because what will happen is you will never earn that because you're not valuable enough.
No.
You're not valuable enough. If you make your business $20 million, do you not think they'll increase your salary? If you are improving people's lives, do you not think you're going to make money? Podcasts are pretty much free to do, aren't they? A book is much free to write. It costs you time, effort, knowledge, determination, all of that. You're overcoming imposter syndrome, you're overcoming fear of failure, you're overcoming fear of success, fear of being judged by others, your opinion might be shit, whatever. Actually, you can still create wealth from that. People look in the wrong places. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to become that guy. This is the key.
Like you're right about that. So right. I want to go back a little bit and tell the audience a little bit about your early years, high school, college. What made you be the man you are now? What led you down that path?
So I think that with anything, imagine a bird, imagine right wing and left wing. They're still parts of the same bird. When you're very close to that side, you're actually very close to this side. All it takes is a few changes. And actually, sometimes the further you are the other way, you'll come back full circles. You see many druggies, they're so far on the drug addict side that they due to Jehovah's Witness, Christianity. They push so far this side that they go all the way to the other side. I was very similar. I've got a very high IQ. I'm in the top 2% globally. I'm in mental. Anyone knows what mental is?
You covered
and the oldest one. But at school, I did well in school, don't get me wrong. I could mess around and get A's. It didn't really matter for me. But I underperformed. I got expelled from school, got suspended, got thrown off the bus, many things.
I bet you were bored.
Yeah, we can use that. We can say, okay, it was a bored, but that doesn't justify, that's in some ways an excuse, although I do agree with it to some extent. It doesn't justify that.
Yeah.
What justifies it? It's like having a Ferrari and not being able to drive it properly. There's softer skills that are just as important as IQ. Determination, organisation, your willingness to learn, discipline, focus, etc. List of 100.
Yep.
But your IQ is not enough on its own. There are other skills. Was I asking myself the right questions? Did I have the right mentor? Did I have the right goals? And was I willing to break those down into daily habits? Probably not. In fact, I know it definitely. That's what triggered it. The other thing that triggered it was actually I was working, to be fair, I did pretty well for myself, even with all the bad stuff. I still, became a financial advisor, employed, company car, or mileage, whatever. At one point where I was listening to the same songs over and over again in the car. I was probably traveling 6 hours a day, 6 hours of meetings, and I was listening to the same songs over and over again. And I think, imagine I used this 6 hours of the day to construct sales technique, psychology, whatever. Matter. Jim Rohn, other motivational speakers, people who are giving wisdom, quotes, questions, areas of life to improve.
You're changing your paradigm.
Paradigm shift massively. Am I using my time wisely was the question I asked myself.
Most people don't.
And they're washing the dishes or in the car and then listening to music. Now, music has its place. Don't get me wrong. It has the ability to calm you. It's got the ability to get you up for a fight if you're going into battle. It makes you feel happy and euphoric and get you in a good mood.
I agree, 100%.
But there's a time and a place for it. If you're spending 6 hours a day listening to music rather than learning, you're wasting valuable time. I've got a whole thing now about mundane tasks, trying to use that time to learn. If I'm cleaning the house, dishes, or car, whatever,
Yeah.
we'll try and use that time wisely. Will I listen to music sometimes? Absolutely. Sometimes that's the best thing for me because I'm overwhelmed with all the stuff that I've got going on.
It was really
Escape for me and put
the way.
into some classical opera that gets me more appreciative of life, or maybe I listen to something more aggressive before I get on the mat to fight in judo. Yeah, with its pace, but it shouldn't be it shouldn't be the only thing that you do. It shouldn't be the only thing that you do. There's long form podcasts, 3 hours long, talking to world experts, much better than myself, world experts on subjects, and you're willing to listen to someone who has spent 30, 40, 50 years going through the same bullshit you've been through. It's a shortcut. Now, yes, there's 3 types of men. One that has to learn by reading, one has to learn by being told by others, blah, 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 and one has to piss on the electric fence for himself.
Who's extra? Learn hard ones.
It's that learning yourself is the best lesson. You can be told learning yourself is the best. But if you can learn a couple of lessons from other people, to speed that you develop, you can learn everything from a book, even my books. You're not going to learn everything from there, but it will fucking help along with the lessons that you learn firsthand.
I think when you make you strike the questions.
There's been
No, it's not. But all that, I would say the accumulation, those things, listening to the podcast, reading the books, reading the quotes, having deep conversations with interesting people collectively over time changes you into a different person. I think Bob Proctor said that I watched this one video of him. He was on this guy's show, Matthew Catalan. I think he's out of Ukraine or something like that. But it was like probably 6 years ago. And on the thing, he said, if you watch this show, a person would take this show and watch the whole thing every day for a year. He said that 1 hour a day is 9 40-hour work weeks. He said just by watching one show, the repetition of hearing all those different topics and understanding that wisdom, it will change your person's paradigm. He guaranteed you can make somebody's annual income or their monthly income become their annual income, or vice versa. You can double a person's income just from watching that one show. They will repetitiously watch it and faithfully watch it. So it's the same thing. That's why with you start using that time, that 6 hour driving time, and to start listening and studying all these different topics and different things, it changed you and grew you into a much higher, elevated, more deeper thinking person. It changed you.
Yeah. This is a really good start. So we've all heard about the 10,000 hours, haven't we? The mastery. You need 10,000 hours to master something. The thing is, if you practice something 1 hour a day, I think it takes you 27 and a half years to become the 10,000 hours, or to attribute or add up to the 10,000 hours. If you do 5 hours a day, you're there in 5 years. And then you've got 20 years at the top. Do you spend 1 hour a day or 5 hours? Or somewhere in between? Do people have 5 hours a day? We've got to be realistic here as well. If they've got kids taking them to school in the morning, they've got a job full time, they're getting home, they're going to the gym, they've got a hobby, as in, it's still developing. It's not like a bullshit hobby. They're still developing. They're cooking. They've got a wife and kids to look after in the evening. Do they have 5 hours a day? Maybe not. But do they have 2 hours? Probably.
Yeah, I would say so. Hour to work, drop an hour back home. So that's 2 hours.
Or, as I said, hour back home and hour driving, is that 2 hours that you could use instead of class them as lost hours?
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how productive people get.
Yeah, because you can't really manage time, because time is happening regardless, but you can manage activities.
Yeah, so there's 2 different ways as well. You can manage activity or progress because sometimes activity does not actually transpire to anything. Oh, I'm busy. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But what's the progress? Is there anything even happening? And actually, on the flip side of that, don't stop too early, because a lot of the time you plant a seed and nothing happens for a while. You need to keep planting seeds. Even after a bad harvest, sowing must be done. After a bad harvest, sowing is more important than it was when it was a good harvest, mate. If life's getting shit, it's saying you need to work more, and then harder, smarter, or both.
You gotta keep at it. Don't. The thing is, like most people, they have those bad moments, they give up.
Yeah.
They don't.
It's a man. Men are based on the value they bring. Women, and I'm not having a dig at women, unfortunately, just how the marketplace is, have to bring value to be valuable. A man's value is based on who he is as a man. If you're 5 foot, no income, no charisma, no intelligence, you are worth 0 in the marketplace. 0. Attractive females have inherent value, unfortunately. And as I said, that's a good thing for them.
Yep.
We have to build a value. And society, people talk shit about society is this, society is that. And they're right, society is. Society is made up of individuals. Society is only as good as the individuals that make it up.
Exactly.
If I change, and Shaun, you change, and John, who's listening to this, changes, society changes.
Exactly.
So you're the problem, not society. You are the problem. Government does this and
We don't got nothing to do with it.
have input into that, mate. You can be part of something that changes that. You are the problem. This is accountability. Internal locus of control versus external locus of control. External is everything that happens outside. You can't change what happens outside. You can change what happens inside.
The power comes in. Yeah. We are the difference.
If you don't see yourself as powerful, you aren't powerful.
You
think
the universe is powerful. The universe is power. The God is wherever you want to look at, it's power. And so that's the other thing people miss too, is that you want to be successful, your energy got to come with power.
Yeah.
But the universe is going to overlook. It's not going to even recognize that low frequency.
Yeah, absolutely. Vibrations and frequency is real.
And it got to come with the thought too. Like I said, the thought, you got to already know and visualize what you want. You got to have a pretty good idea of what you want.
There's something called synchronicities that Jung basically coined the phrase. And it's where you're going through life and something happens that's almost impossible to happen, but it points you in the right direction. It's a number on a sheet of paper. It's something you dreamt about that happens that next. That's what's called synchronicity. That for me means you're on the right path, in tune with the universe. It's the universe giving you a little wink saying, yeah, don't worry, keep going. These are the patterns we're showing you. If no one's heard of synchronicity, I did a quick podcast about this. If not, look at Carl Jung's work. She's a real.
And I got some add to that. A lot of things, the synchronicities are displayed to us in patterns. And so if you start seeing numbers together, 111, 222, 33, these different numbers all the time at different places, that's the way the universe is speaking to you. And the way it communicates through numbers, telling you that you're on the right path.
Angel numbers. Nikola Tesla, first of all, Edison did not invent the light bulb.
I know that.
Tesla invented the light bulb, along with the radio, AC, DC, fucking made this guy was a genius. Anyway, he also looked at what's called vortex mathematics. I'm not going to go too much into it because I'll probably ruin it.
Dude.
Look at it, it's incredible. 369 and the patterns of numbers on the circle, vortex mathematics, and the repeating of numbers. And obviously you've got the Fibonacci numbers, 1.6, golden ratio, you've got pi, you've got the pyramids that show all of that within a pyramid.
Within the Great Pyramid.
It's a joke. And then they also do Orion's belt. It's incredible. And people still think that there's no such thing as God. Okay, let's just take away religion completely and say, well, Adam, Eve and all that didn't exist. Okay, fine. But you cannot, as an intelligent being, think that the universe exists without a creator. I designed this t-shirt, the phone is designed, the house is designed. There's something as complex as, with all of these consistencies with numbers, days of certain lengths, and then molecules and DNA, and it's not designed. Get the fuck out of it. According to teleological argument in philosophy, the watchmaker argument, if you found a watch on a beach and looked at it, you would think this had to be designed because it's too intricate to not be. And that's the universe.
It was all a creation. You crazy to think that something higher than, like you said, put thought first. It all comes from thought into existence.
We've got designers who design games, GTA, design code, and within that sort of remit, there's certain rules and regulations, and only that can happen. If it doesn't, error, syntax error, whatever. Above us, that's what happened. And that's what people need to realise. And another...
As above, so below.
Yeah, absolutely. Hermetic. And part about society in general. One of the reasons, and I'm going to write a book about this at some point probably, society is gone more degenerate. And it's on a correlation with atheism on the increase.
Yes.
And you can talk, okay, someone can come back to me and say, okay, there's a correlation causation fallacy there, which you could argue. However, there's no denying that there is a relation between atheism and degeneracy. Morals do work hand in hand with some affinity spiritually with something outside of yourself. Has a massive influence on your morals and ethics.
I completely agree. So, with all been said, like, what's like right now in your current life? What's the most important thing what's your driving force for the day to day? What's your goals to expand yourself and to bless the people around you?
Great question. People have two deaths. They have the physical death when they die. The second death is when people forget you ever existed. If John Smith dies today and his family die next year, he's gone forever. Muhammad Ali, Karl Marx, I'm not saying that I agree with any of these people, they're just people.
Yeah.
Adolf Hitler. And I've used those on purpose because some are good, some aren't so good. They have left a legacy that will remain forever.
They'll never be forgotten.
They will never be forgotten because they've left a mark so strong, so important, so fantastic. Nikola Tesla, another one. There's millions.
Okay.
That they will never die. What drives me is to never have a second death and do so in a positive way. It is infamous versus famous, isn't there? For me, if I can make a change to many individuals, to society, to leave some books that will maybe change things in the future, to maybe spark an idea. That for me is what drives me. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, even if you're going through a bad time, you need something to give you meaning. You might have a 9-to-5 job, but what generally will send someone to a 9-to-5 job is the background stuff. I need to put food on the table for my kids. I need to put food on the table for them to develop. I need to be the man of the house. That's a purpose. That's a reason to do it. Or I love my job. I want to leave a legacy. But there's something there that drives you. When you don't have that drive, that's when you're in real trouble.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have the confidence, and what pushes people opposite of that path, just a work or 9-to-5, but they don't have the desire or the believe in that will create the fact.
Yeah, I mean, we're not here to shit on 9-to-5 because it's just weird. I'm not saying you are. There's a lot at the moment going around, people saying, "Oh, get out to 9-to-5 and be your own person." Fair enough. It's based on 9-to-5 jobs. Engineers, mechanics, nurses, doctors, taxi drivers, people who serve you food in restaurants. A full society is based on 9-to-5 and people working for jobs. So there's nothing wrong with it.
No.
The problem is people doing jobs they don't enjoy and they're doing it for the wrong reasons. And it's not about enjoying, because I'm not saying that you should always do everything you enjoy. There's obviously, even within a macro thing that you enjoy, there's going to be micro things you don't enjoy. For example, you've got your own podcast, Shaun. The macro thing is you're going to love interviewing guests, talking about great ideas. The micro things might be that you hate editing the videos, uploading them, thinking about questions to ask, bad comments. There's always going to be micro things that you don't like within the macro. You're never going to have a situation where you love everything that you do. A football player, soccer player, whatever you want to call it, is not going to like training every day. But they're going to enjoy the match days, the fame, the income, the girls, but they're probably not going to enjoy the fact they're not allowed to go out while they're training. You can't have it without tap me. People shit on, these fundamental people in society, the people who fix the roads, whatever, but they love these Instagram influencers. When shit hits the fan, who are they going to call? When they're balling, who are they going to call? When the roof is leaking, who are they going to call? The fucking Instagram guy.
You're going to call an expert in whatever field it is that they require. So to help, it's essential. You got to have the experts of different fields to do a certain job.
Oh, Nightingale's got another thing that you mentioned earlier with The Stranger's Secret. He's also got something called Lead the Field. Oh, Nightingale, Brian Tracy, and Jim Rohn were the first three for me. They were probably the first ones that really came up. Proctor was a little bit later for me, actually. He's fantastic. He's been there from the start. But yeah, Jim Rohn.
I love Jim Rohn, man.
And Brian Tracy were probably three of the real...
That really push you toward...
I know all the others as well, Bob Proctor and Teddy Robbins and things.
Yeah, it's always going to be the one or two or three that's the one that really work the push.
But when they're you might like one football team and I might like another football team. They're still playing football. You like their style, how they dress, they resonate with you, whether it's in their speech, whether it's ethnically, whether it's whatever. It's something that's going to, the way they use their words, the stories they tell, resonate with you. Because let's be honest, they've got pretty similar messages. But some hit different to you personally. You can go to one martial arts class and you like it and the other one's shit. But someone else, it's the other way around. Because you like how that person teaches.
Yeah. You feel like about the frequency too, I guess, too.
Absolutely. And that's, for me, an important thing in life. Not everyone can be the same. And this is where people go wrong. They try and imitate others. Oh, this worked for this person. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z that they did. Your life is so specific. It will never exist again.
Can be real with that.
It never existed. Your genes will never be replicated. Your specific situation will never be replicated. There are no one-size-fits-all caps. There's no step A, B, and C. There's ideas you can get from elsewhere. These are the sorts of things you should think about. But only when you ask questions about your specific situation can you then look at generating answers and finding information about it.
Make a greater change for your future.
Absolutely.
So, like, I know you mentioned that you in the process of writing another book. I know your podcast is the Vanquish, name of your podcast?
A Vanquish podcast.
Okay.
The Vanquish label.
And so beyond that, what are your plans? Are you planning to do any book tours, or what's your plan?
The books are on Amazon. I do discussions on podcasts based on my own and others. I'm writing a fiction novel at the moment. Again, coming out of your comfort zone. I've written 3 non-fiction self-help books. I think actually what would be a challenge for me. So I'm doing a fiction book. So that's interesting. About something you've sent there. It's just a short novella. It's not even a novel, it's a novella. Maybe 25,000 words. But then I'm going to get back on some other non-fiction stuff. So maybe self-help, maybe some posing bigger questions, society questions, and answering how we can maybe improve things. So as an example, one of the thoughts I had the other day, why are people in prison? We're spending money to feed these people, house these people, when they could be used to fix some of the problems we have in society. We have the technology now to tag and track these people. I'm not suggesting that murderers and rapists and mental health cases get out on the streets, but for other people who have maybe committed smaller crimes, robberies and things like that, to clean the streets, if they're in a 10-year stretch, even they would appreciate it. It's a win for everyone. They're happier, society benefits, and we spend less money on them.
The taxes may go down.
It's just one thing that's come to mind of a whole list of things for society. Why are you dealing with another problem? Problem is this person's an idiot. They've murdered someone. Let's put them in prison and have another problem, feed them and pay for them. And why not act problem new shit for an existing problem that we already have?
Smarter way.
I don't know what's being done, to be honest.
Yeah, because it's a money thing. I know in the United States, most prisons are privatized. It's private companies own the prison. So it's a money thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. But what you have to do, as with anything, you can change where the money goes. But you have to influence something or someone in order to change where the money goes. Look at a lot of the COVID stuff that happened, where the contracts were made, who made the money, who was working together to ensure that most people got vaccinated. When you understand that, as well as other things, fractional reserve banking system, blah, 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 then you can really understand the strings and who's pulling them.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need to change the puppet and get a new hand doing all of this.
If you follow the trail of money, you'll figure out the source with anything. So, but you're right, man. There's so many things that could be done differently that could change not only just localized areas, but the entire world. The people would think different. So when the thought came to me, you seem like you have so many great questions. What is your source of power? What is your motivation that you channel these great questions from? What allowed you to keep that consistent thought?
Do I want to improve my life? Do I want to improve the impact I leave? Yes. And how do I go about doing that? Those questions open up multiple other questions. It's like, if you ever seen someone get interviewed by the police, where were you on the 17th November 2022? Oh, I was outside with my mate. What were you doing outside? Oh, I was just messing about. So you're saying you're outside with your friend, but why do you have a gun on you with blood on it? And you can start to see that as you ask the questions, things narrow down. For me, everything the questions. How do I improve in X? How do I improve in Y? Why is this not working? Why is that not working? Will help me to develop answers. The second book is trying to encompass, really, giving you questions relate to you as an individual and how to improve.
So basically, never be complacent, never settle, always be in a state of wanting to push the envelope to go further.
There's a fine balance, though. You need to be grateful for what you already have.
Probably is.
5 years ago, you probably would have wished for where you are now. And you're complaining about the same things you wished for. You're complaining about the mortgage, yet you wish to own a house. Second thing is, other people are jealous of what you have. Some people don't. You know, I've got a house, some people don't. I've got a dog, some people don't. You know, I can eat 3 meals a day, no problem. I've got money coming in, some people don't. So I've got to be grateful for those things. But also, you've got to want more as well. There's got to be that fine balance between both. You don't want to be just too complacent, but you also want to be ambitious. Complacency is like a capital. But complacency doesn't mean that you're not grateful. Complacency just means that you're not seizing the opportunities available in front of you.
Because
Because
every problem is opportunity to do something great.
every problem is an opportunity, or there's a solution for, and every question there is an answer. That's all said.
You know, but like you said, you got to be willing to go down that path.
This is what I say. People say, where do I start? The part of starting to change is one thing. You've got to want to change. Everything else, I want to change. Okay, so how?
That's the desire.
Fine.
That's the desire.
Desire to change.
Gotta have desire.
That's it. You know, that mentality. But I'm thirsty to learn. I don't go a day without trying to learn something new. I read. I'm not saying that I sit down and read 25 books a day. It's not that. While I'm doing my writing books, doing podcasts, reading books as well, but I'm doing snippets. I'll read online while I'm doing stuff. Little nuggets.
Yeah.
Worth it down to read something in full at some point. Absolutely. I will read a book and use it. But the little nuggets, that you're looking for as well, that really helps to solidify your mindset. If you see yourself as someone who is inquisitive and wants to learn, and every day you are inquisitive and want to learn and do little bits, you become more.
I'm just exactly. Some people laugh at me because I always got a book bag or two with me with books and different notebooks. Some days I may read a paragraph. Some days I may read a line. Some days I may read a whole chapter or multiple chapters, but it just depends. I'm always having my stuff with me because that's a part of my life that I'm going to be learning something.
Absolutely.
What would you tell your 18-year-old, 20-year-old self? What would you tell yourself?
The first answer will be, I wouldn't tell him anything. Because you want to go through the lessons to arrive where you are today. If I had told myself
no regrets
before, I would not be the person I am today, because I wouldn't have made the mistakes, I wouldn't have learned the lessons, and I wouldn't be in the position I am now, which is where you're meant to be, in essence. So that's the first answer. The second answer would be to get serious earlier, to start asking questions, to start realising direction, to start realising the softer skills that are going to help you develop. So it really, these two answers are at the either end of the scale. Because you don't want to change anything. Because if you change something, other things change and you aren't where you are today. On the flip side, you try and implement some kind of knowledge to change yourself in a better way. But what you might find is it doesn't always work that way in reality. If I was to actually look back, I'd say use what you have and start asking yourself these questions, set goals, and start using your time more wisely. Anything we've spoken about today, to be honest, would be I'm telling myself that. But as I said, learning lessons, is it ever the wrong time to learn the lesson? The best time to plant the tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. There's no point in me saying 20 years ago, I wish I knew that. Because the fact that I know it today is enough.
Because right now, because the truth of the matter, whether the past or bad, all we got is now.
So yeah, life can only be lived moving forwards, but can only be understood in hindsight. We can only live it moving forwards. We can only understand it when we look back and think, oh, that had to happen for this to happen. If you understand that the shit you're going through today is that in 10 years' time, don't be pissed off that shit's happening now. In 10 years, it will all make sense. That's the mentality that I have. Things are bad, and for a reason. I'm meant to learn something. I don't know what the lesson is. There's something there. So that's not the sort of mentality I live by. For you, it's how you deal with it.
How you deal with, like, you got to be the rock, right?
The call, be the rock, like the waves keep crashing over the raging sea, force still around it.
Yes, that's awesome. I love that. So, what would be a couple of other things, maybe 2 or 3 things you might would leave the audience that will, that will help them with the days coming ahead?
So, I think with resources, there's so much out there that can help you. As we said earlier, every individual is different. Your situation will never exist. What's important is that you deal with a specialist. It's like, I could ring up a car mechanic and say, oh, my car's broken. What's the first thing he's going to ask?
For the symptoms,
Most people are too scared to invest in themselves. They will spend $100 on a night out, a few beers, but they're not willing to spend $100 on books, courses, coaches. A coach can be very specific to you. And actually, what you're going through, although it might be similar to what other people have gone through, a coach will act as a mirror. They're not here to tell you should go and live in the United States and work at this place. A coach is there to reflect back to you and ask the right questions in order for you to think in a way that's going to generate answers, that's going to get you results. And that's what we do as coaches. I think it's a massive thing that you should look at doing, even if it's not. Most coaches, including myself, do 3 sessions, first session. It's fantastic. You go your own way. But even that 3 session, you're probably going to learn something that may trigger something that's going to help to improve you longer term.
Maybe the catalyst to a greater change. It's been a blessing. I've learned a lot myself, and I know the audience is going to learn even more. There's a day to learn, grow, and expand. And the first thing, most of all, be grateful for what you got. Because you're not grateful for what you got, you're not gonna get more.
Imagine you are parenting and you give the kid a PlayStation 5, a £10,000 bike, an iPhone 15. They don't say thank you or anything like that. Are you going to want to give them anything else?
You shouldn't.
You might do out good to your heart, but you're probably not going to want to. That's how it works. You asked for something 10 years ago. You said, I want my own house. I want a girlfriend. I want a kid. I want a business. I want my own podcast. And you finally got it, and you're not grateful for it. You're complaining about how much time it's taking up, how much it's cost. And you're not grateful for what you asked for. I wouldn't give you anything.
Yeah. Exactly. You asked for the blessing, then now you saying the blessing is a nightmare.
Okay. I've written about that in my book, actually. My own quote, people wish for something, but they don't really understand what they're wishing for. They're wishing for a mortgage, but they're complaining about mortgage payments. Did you not understand that's what comes with owning a house? The blessing that you're wishing for is the summary of the quote. It's not the word for word. It's the premise. People complain because they don't actually understand. I want to be world famous. You want to be world famous. You understand what comes with being world famous. Do you understand that if you're that famous, you can't go for a piss without people stopping you? You understand you're going to have no privacy or freedom? Do you understand that girls you're going to date, friends that you're going to make, it's going to be very hard for you to tell whether they have your best interests at all? Do you actually understand that about going through that journey? Same people who want that, and then they'll complain about all that other bollocks. But they've not fucking understood that is part of that package.
Yeah, the
Deal is if you get a 10 out of 10 girlfriend looks wise, unfortunately, other men are going to look at her.
that
It's attractive, and you're going to get upset about that. Get out of it. Not
so you might I would have get the ugly duckling.
exactly. This is what people don't understand. They can't see past the tip of their nose. Chess players and strategists are very good for this. They can see steps ahead. Most people can't see even one step ahead. And this is what, I'm not saying I can see everything. Although I'm fairly sure I'm not a fucking genius. No one is. Just start to think about these things. Because what's worse is you get there and you're like, fuck, I didn't realise that. If you realise that, you wouldn't have done the fucking thing in the first place.
I think, like I said, that all go back to what we've been talking about. That people don't think further than or might not think at all. Yeah. So this has been a blessing, man. You really blessed myself. You blessed the audience, and I'm just grateful for all your wisdom and all the love you displayed to us today. And it's going to be a great episode, and people are really going to expand and grow from it.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it, man. I hope I can come on your show sometime, or you can come back to mine, and we can continue to have another great conversation.
Love to have you on the show, mate.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, I'll wish you the blessings and everything for your days to come, and everything you got going on with your book and your podcast and everything else you're subscribing to go. I know you say you got a competition coming up this weekend. I play you did first place in that, and I wish you the best for everything you got going, my man.
Thank you.
God bless you, man. I appreciate you. All right, everyone, this is another great episode of Heighten Your Sixth Sense. I got my man, Jeevan, all the way from London, blessing us with some great knowledge and wisdom. And we're just very thankful to have him on here. This is going to be it for this episode. We'll be talking to you guys again soon. All right, peace and love.